one connected to our I
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Screen, share song. All right. So episode 3, this is the steroid epidemic in the UK. Okay. You can hear it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome sauce. Any thoughts on the statistic? This is actually kind of crazy. 60,000 estimated steroid users in the UK, but unofficially it's closer to a million.
1
One in 30.
million?
You know what that means? It could be you. It could be me. Any one of us could be the steroid user.
Okay, if there's 1 million unofficially, like 1 million, that's 1 in 67 in the UK. Like,
Hmm.
first of all, when I see that, that means like all those people that means like almost everyone in the UK is like working out. It has to be because like first of all, there's like 67 million people in the UK, right? Or around
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's 1 million, I don't know how they're supplying this.
That's kind of crazy. How is there enough steroids to be passed to like? Well, I mean it's unofficial, but it's close to a million. That's really interesting. All right, let's continue.
I know people who do it in the gym. They'll just, here's 20 quid, or here's your stuff, just in front of everybody. It's just a norm, I think.
$20 and it's in front of anybody. That's
In
wild.
front of everyone.
I don't think you could even do that in America. I mean, at my gym at least, I don't see anybody shooting up like PEDs or tren or anything of the sort in a gym. That's just crazy.
I don't either. I didn't know they were cheap as well.
Yeah, $20. I mean, I think that's what 20 quid is. I'm not sure
It's like, yeah,
exchange rate
I'm not
is
sure.
between British pounds and USD, but
Yeah,
people doing it in front of the gym. That's crazy stuff.
yeah, it is crazy.
I do know of people who have passed away from doing too many cycles, too much partying, not taking care of yourself, and then it's obviously all just gone horribly wrong.
I mean, what's staggering is if you type in by steroids UK and you get 4 million results. And it's so easy. It's so easy to buy. It's just like buying your run-of-the-mill supplement from any website.
That's actually kind of wild. That's how accessible they are.
Is it
I mean,
accessible in the US like that?
I'm not sure what the difference is because I know you can get it like enhancing drugs. I mean, people. I think most athletes do it illegally because I know you can get banned from like the Olympics. It's happened before. You can get banned from like bodybuilding competitions. They don't allow it. Like I mean, like really prominent ones, the really big ones, like the Mr. Olympia is
Yeah, I was gonna say
definitely people. Everybody's used on there.
yeah.
I'm not sure, but like most institutions don't allow drugs. They ban it. I know the UFC. It's not really related to bodybuilding, but there's a whole lot of conditioning. There is some building of muscle too. I mean, it depends on get your classes, but I do know. I think they ban steroids too.
Yeah,
But
no, steroids are just heavily illegal in general, right?
yeah,
When I see
they're
that
illegal here
statistic
like
and
that.
how this like it's easily that accessible, I think about like the failed effects of steroids, like the
Mhm.
heavy acne, it can cause
Yeah.
have you heard like of this thing called roid rage?
Oh yeah. That happens a lot too. I've
Yeah, no,
heard.
it can cause people to like have, cold sweats, right, in their
Hmm.
sleep.
Yeah.
Especially no, it's just the acne part that's really concerning. It's really just
Hmm. Oh
steroids
yeah.
in general, just bad for
There
your
is
body.
definitely like health risks associated with it because it like messes up your hormones.
It does.
Hmm.
Yeah. And apparently they get
So
it from cows, right? Supposed to be
cows.
meant like steroids were meant for
Oh yeah,
animals.
yeah, yeah. They were meant for I think trenbolone acetate, which is one of the more popular ones
Yeah, yeah.
that is used for bodybuilding. I'm sure
Yeah, no, trenbolone is from
I
cows, yeah.
think that was meant for cows, yeah. I
It
think that was meant
was.
for cows. But not
Yeah.
really. And we're not cows. We're like very frail humans compared to cows.
Yeah. And
So let me give you a question. What role
all right.
do governing bodies and regulations play in addressing steroid use in a sport like bodybuilding, for example?
Could you repeat that?
Oh, my bad. So what role do governing bodies and regulations play in addressing steroid use in sports like bodybuilding? Do you have any thoughts on
Well, honestly, I think it's just meant for like, primarily for safety, right? Because if
that?
I don't know, in bodybuilding in general, like people want to become the biggest, right? And
Yeah,
most of the
definitely.
time, yeah, in all those failed times of steroid usage, right? The people with the heavy acne,
Hmm.
those are people who don't consult a doctor initially,
Hmm.
which causes all these health issues and like
Yeah.
negative side effects. And I think that's primarily the reason why, a lot of weightlifting competitions, like you mentioned before, or
Hmm.
bodybuilding, when people want to get
Yeah.
big, that's why I think it's like more illegal in the US compared to
Hmm.
UK, just primarily just because of safety issues, right?
Yeah.
And the whole idea of steroids in general and the fact it's meant for cows, right?
Hmm.
It's I don't think it's like a morally correct choice.
Hmm. What do you mean by that? Morally correct?
Well, it's not really like moral. I feel like it's like more ethics, right?
Hmm.
Like, do you really want to do that to your own body, right? Because like I'm pretty sure steroids in general can like cut your lifespan
Oh yeah,
by a lot.
they definitely do. They definitely do.
Yeah, and apparently steroids are supposed to like exceed the limits of your body, right?
Oh yeah, they do because they cause like a hormone imbalance. Like
They
if you take
do.
China for example, it's gonna give you more like testosterone, and it's super unnatural too. You'll notice how you'll get bigger, but your heart can't accommodate for like that muscle gain. I mean, your heart is
Yeah,
just
yeah,
supposed to
yeah.
be a big
The heart.
muscle. Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
one of the bigger health risks, and that's why like a lot of people die young. And we actually do have an example, but we're gonna continue with this for now and see what they said.
And I don't know I don't even know what I'm buying, and I can buy it. I can just click add to cart, and there you go,
Yeah,
steroids.
just a little note. That's definitely a health concern. You can literally, you're putting anything in your body. It's kind of crazy.
It is crazy.
Oh,
There's a vending machine at the peak of Mount Fuji. It's true. There's like 5 million of them in Japan.
We emailed our readers asking them if they are, or they're thinking about using steroids. Dentists, doctors, we had lawyers, we had CEOs of companies, we had physiotherapists at top sports clubs. It wasn't just your typical beefheads and your gym bros taking steroids who are getting in touch. So we're in Wales now to meet one of those guys called Mike, who is openly taking steroids.
Hi, mate, you right?
Hello, mate, you all right, mate?
Yeah, good. Come in.
So have you got any steroids?
Yeah, I've got some here if you want to have a look.
So you keep it in you just keep it in your cupboard in the kitchen?
Yeah, pretty much, mate. I mean, we've got, like I said, I'm doing a stripping course at the minute, so take off any excess fat, which when I did the
he has a pretty good physique, but let's see if he reveals any reason why he's taking them.
bulking course, obviously you're going to retain a bit of fat, so this is to do it. So you've got like fat burners there, which are just tablets. And we've got the test propionate, like I said, it's the fast acting one, so it's in and out of your system.
Right, so these are injections?
Yeah, so every other day is 0.75 mil of that and 0.75 mil of that.
Director from London called Dan.
Dan.
Rob,
Hello, mate, nice to meet you.
nice
You
to
all
meet
right?
you. The cycling,
so
you can
these
just
are
see it
people
physically
doing
all
it.
over them.
Let's see.
And having been through it yourself, you can really see people that are either cycling on or at the peak of it or are cycling off.
You can see where it could be addictive or where people could abuse it because you feel like superhuman when you do it. So, and when you see the strength increases, people think, oh, this is amazing.
Zero.
Do you have any thoughts on what he said about like, the superhuman comment?
I strongly do agree that trend could probably it does because it exceeds your muscle
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
capabilities. So yeah, it will definitely make you stronger, right?
Mhm.
But from a sports or like a weightlifting person I know, his name is Larry Wheels on YouTube,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people get muscle tears, right? Either near the
Mhm.
chest, shoulder, or
Yeah.
bicep.
Yeah.
And what one pattern or common pattern was between them was that they all took some sort of performance enhancing drugs, right?
Mhm.
And this brings me to this idea that if you're on performance enhancing drugs, you are more capable of tearing a muscle, right, or
Mhm.
sustaining a devastating injury.
Yeah, I
And
can
this
see that. Yeah.
yeah, and this ties back to your idea of the heart, right? And
Mhm.
I feel like this is true because your heart can't really sustain your huge body, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So you're more prone to having all these injuries. So while you do get superhuman strength, is it really worth it in the long term?
That's a pretty interesting take because in the sports industry, for example, I mean LeBron James has been going at it for really hard for like 20 years. But there have been allegations of him taking drugs, and I think I kind of agree with that because he's been going strong for 20 years. I mean, he's had a pretty decent performance. I mean, he's one of the only 39 years old, 39 like really old. That's pretty old in NBA terms too. That's
39?
actually performing pretty well in the NBA for his age, for his longevity, for like his injuries that he's had. And going back to his superhuman comment, that's probably why LeBron has lasted so long. But it's also kind of terrible because you need like the difference between a very one of the greatest athletes and a mediocre athlete at the top level is one takes steroids and one doesn't. So it's pretty interesting that steroids are pretty much needed if you want to perform at the top level.
In my opinion, going back to LeBron James thing, right?
Hmm.
On I honestly don't think you can really tell whether someone is taking steroids or not, or
Hmm.
you're more you could tell, often you can
Hmm.
tell some whether someone's on steroids by looking at them, and just by looking at LeBron James as a whole, right?
Hmm.
Just I don't really think he's taking performance enhancing drugs, right? Maybe he's taking some like supplement, right?
Hmm.
But
I
honestly,
think I think he's either like a very good like receiver of steroids, so he doesn't really like see the effects, or is very subtle with it, very subtle, so you don't really
yeah,
see
you
the
can you
effects at
can be
all.
subtle with it.
Or
Yes.
maybe he masks it because apparently there's like a way to mask like steroids. I'm sure they do it at the. I've heard they do it at like the UFC. One of the like the most obvious examples of somebody taking steroids is Israel Adesanya. He had like a really bad case of gynecomastia, which is like that like lump like near
Oh
your
yeah,
chest.
I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
he was very clearly taking steroids, but apparently, like some UFC fighters are like roided. I mean, Conor McGregor, for example,
He
he
was
was
roided.
he used to be shredded, and then he had a. I remember I saw like a physique update, and he looks super small compared to what he looked like a year ago. Actually, it's pretty crazy stuff. So you can definitely tell who took steroids and who didn't. So in the
Yeah,
UFC context, we have Israel, a very obvious choice, very obvious example. I mean.
that's why.
Connor, another obvious example. I mean, not Connor. Yeah, Connor. Another very obvious example. He got big. All of a sudden, he lost all his mass. Super
Yeah,
crazy.
it's
But it
weird.
literally turned him into a superhuman. I mean, Israel Destin's performance was really crazy. He won that fight. Conor McGregor kind of fell off, but his physique was pretty crazy. I agree. I agree with that. I like
Yep.
that.
Yeah, and it just ties to this, this idea that, globally, people
Hmm.
generally like, I guess governments generally like reject steroids, Well, I guess except for the UK now, I guess. I did not know about this.
Yeah, I don't know about this either. This is a whole other country. I thought steroids were pretty rampant in the US, but it looks like steroids affect other countries. Interesting.
Zero aches
Yep.
and pains, super quick recovery time, and then obviously you're just building on that muscle all the time, so you're able to go up the weights every week, if not before. You're sort of really starting to push yourself, and it does shift your state of mind and your attitude and your approach to the gym. You go into the gym and sometimes it can be a little intimidating, especially when you're a smaller guy, which I was. And then all of a sudden, felt like I really belonged in there and didn't really care at the size of the other guys that was in there, because all of a sudden I did feel like I belonged there more than I did before. And this photo for me just really indicates, oh, you can see I'm smiling.
That's really crazy. And I'm sure he put that on in a short amount of time too, because of how effective steroids are in
Yeah.
building muscle. I mean, he's a pretty solid physique for for that. It's pretty nice. I agree. I
Yeah.
like that.
Wait, I wanted to add, like, this ties to this idea of social media, right?
Hmm.
So you know how people like fake people that are on more like that are more most likely on performance enhancing drugs, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
They post themselves on social media to make themselves like so appealing, right? So big, muscular, and
Hmm.
everything. And I feel like this just could cause a negative reaction to like the audience or the consumers, right?
Hmm.
Because people will see this and say, "Wow, I want to become big like this guy," right?
Yeah.
And seeing that he takes performance enhancing drugs can influence others to also take, steroids, for
Hmm.
example, right? So this is like a really global issue here.
Hmm. Yeah, actually, going back to your social media point, I think I kind of like bringing up that point because when you look at social media, it's you see like the top results of every case. I mean, you have, for example, David Lade. You have another
David Lade, yeah.
example
Well, David Lade
of
was like allegedly like a natural though.
allegedly. Oh, I think I'm confusing him for Alex Eubanks. Alex Eubanks is a pretty
Yeah, he's really
prime example of
controversial.
this because allegedly, actually no, it's not even alleged. It's true. Alex Eubanks, who had a very good physique, he has a massive following, had had this godly physique, and it kind of creates this insecurity within people. Like, I mean, I'll look at the comments. It's pretty general to say this, but I think anybody can agree that social media does create this like ideal physique that you should have. However, some people don't see these results, creates insecurities, and that's another global issue that this creates is like this mentality, like a shift in mentality. I mean, some people like feel bad about themselves 'cause of where they're at. And Alex Eubanks, who literally went to the hospital for going to steroids, he had to publicly apologize about his actions. If I remember correctly, I would take what I said there with a grain of salt, but yeah, it creates unrealistic expectations. That's the
It does,
biggest
yeah.
takeaway
Unrealistic
from
expectations.
steroid use.
Yeah.
And it's even though I'm looking down, my body is completely
Yeah, but that's definitely like, if I ever take steroids and this happened, like completely changed, I would have a very different mental outlook.
That is true.
changed. I'm filthy, but
Yeah.
I'm having the time of my life.
Yeah.
And that for me
Actually, I
was
see. I'm
just
gonna
a
skip to
real
this part here.
moment
It's very
of, it
interesting.
was a real wake up.
Yo, I cannot believe these shorts from Fabletics are 2 for $24. Look at the shorts I used to wear.
Call some poor kid could just buy some tests, get a needle, it could have air in it, it goes straight into a vein, and bang, he's gone. So there needs to be an education with it, because you can't stop
Oh yeah, so what do you think the role is with education in steroid use and how we can mitigate like the usage of it in the first place? Do you have any idea?
Honestly, no, because in the United States, for instance, right,
Mm-hmm.
there's like a lot of places where steroids are kind of illegal,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, the only reason why people ever use steroids for like, medical reasons.
Yeah.
So it's really niche,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why for instance, our health class, right? I don't think our teacher actually taught us
Mm-hmm.
anything about steroids, right?
Yeah.
So honestly, I don't think they should incorporate it to education, right? Because or at least in the United States, but definitely in the UK, just because 1 in 32 men or one in
Mm-hmm.
30 somewhere around there. It's crazy how common it actually is there, but for the United States, I think it's different.
No, actually, I think you're a little wrong in your point because steroids are basically just drugs. I mean,
Yeah,
PED literally means performance enhancing drug. So I think we did learn about it, but it was more of like actual drugs. Like we learned about the side effects of like barbiturates, cocaine, like those type of drugs are like pills, basically, or something you snort. Like that's. But I think,
those are like the more harmful drugs, though. This is like performance enhancing. This is like
oh yeah, that's
more
true.
like
That's
my
true.
medical stuff.
But those drugs could also enhance performance too, because apparently one of the most famous bodybuilders from Arnold's time, Mike Mentzer, actually used
Meth,
methamphetamine
yeah,
as like a pre-workout before his workouts. One of the craziest statements I've ever heard. I mean, if you look at Mike Mentzer, he did have one of the best physiques like in this world class physique. So I think education should be implemented before, teens try to start this because going back to what they said about like a needle like injecting air, one of the worst things that can happen to your veins is if any air gets trapped into it. And if that air goes to the heart, you're dead. Basically dead. You're gonna go out with
wait,
the
just an
bang in
air.
your heart. It's one of the craziest deaths that can happen.
Wait,
It's
an
super
air in your vein
sudden.
can cause you to die.
Yeah, like
Oh,
there's a lot of like medical cases that actually involve with incorrect injections
yeah, that's
because
the
these
thing.
people are not doing it like the medical way.
Yep.
They're doing it on their own with like no medical like training at all. So they're doing it, and if you get like air in there at all, you're as good as dead because it can pop the blood vessel, and it'll
Yeah.
end up causing you to bleed out, and you can't really repair any of
Yeah.
those.
This ties to this idea, like I feel like the UK should like enforce some sort of, like certificate for to get
Hmm.
steroids, or like medical
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. The
Because
issue with steroids is I mean, I think I think steroids are globally like not accepted. I mean, I know in the Olympics you can't be under steroids. You can't use steroids there. It's pretty illegal, like marathons, because they give you an edge over other people that worked hard naturally.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's really unfair in
But
general. Yeah, I can see why.
but in the bodybuilding context, it's super different what they do there because in Olympia
Bodybuilding, yeah.
you can't win in Olympia without being like roided to the gills. Like it's super crazy. I mean,
Yeah, because pretty sure they only base it on measurements, right? Like
mhm.
aesthetic and
Yeah, it's literally
measurements.
no. You have to be a mass monster actually.
Yeah.
Like Arnold. I mean, he allegedly says he's natural, but he was very clearly on steroids. I mean, who can get those proportions? He had one of the best chests ever. I mean, super appealing chest. Another one is Ronnie Coleman.
Oh yeah, Ronnie
8-time,
Coleman.
yeah, 8-time Olympia winner. This dude is literally like permanently like wheelchair bound because of how much stress he put on his body. And you don't
Yep.
really feel, I mean, he felt that stress, but because of steroids, they kept his body up and moving. But over time, when he stopped using steroids, his body couldn't handle it because his ligaments was really weak. Because your ligaments don't grow when you take steroids, only your muscles do. That's the
Oh
other
yeah,
issue.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is pretty crazy. I think
That is true.
education should be enforced in not just only drugs, but like drugs that involve like bodybuilding and stuff like that. Because bodybuilding, in case of like Olympia, is full of roid heads. I mean, you can't win it without roids. So I think a change that the the people that hand out the Olympia, they should low key probably like start enforcing like less use of steroids because I'm sure you know, popular figures like Chris Bumstead, one of my favorite bodybuilders personally, he's probably gonna die early because of how much stress he's put his body under. Some crazy stuff that happens.
them, but at least you can educate them. So, like, if my boy
Yeah,
went
if we at least have, education, if they educate on this topic, at least they'll know the implications, the negative implications of using steroids. So we definitely need that everywhere, actually, because that's a global problem. They could be a global problem. Yeah, and you could actually tie it in with the drug epidemic. It is a drug, basically.
when he's sort of 18 says to me, I'm going to go to Creamfields for the weekend, I'd be like, right, okay, well, there's going to be drugs, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. Be aware of this. You can't stop it, but at least you can educate them, and hopefully they can.
Yeah, so to end the episode off because it's getting a little too long. The problem with steroids is it's always going to be there. I mean, it's a drug. The drugs are always going to be there. They're
Yeah.
always going to be in circulation. They may unexpectedly reach your kid. They may unexpectedly reach me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not never gonna use
Yo.
steroids. But the issue is that if we can at least mitigate, the primary factors, being ignorant of steroids and how they can impact your body, being ignorant of those effects, if we at least like teach kids like how terrible it can be, provide examples. A very popular example is the bodybuilder Rich Piana.
Oh yeah.
He was a very genuine bodybuilder. He had interesting takes. But the issue with the Rich Piana was he was under the influence of drugs, and I remember seeing a video. It was I believe he was under the influence of many drugs,
Yep.
and he
From
was
his
a pretty
wife, the
popular
video from his
bodybuilder, and
wife.
he just wasn't acting right.
He wasn't.
Yeah, and if a teenager, takes a steroid and does it in the long term, they're gonna end up like Rich Piana. They're gonna end up dying really young. I'm sure. I believe Rich Piana died at 52. It's pretty sad. Another one is what's his Joe? I forgot what his name was. You know, remember that dude that can do the Munzer wave? I forgot what his name. Oh, Joe Lindler.
Oh, I do not know who that
Joe
is.
Joe Lindler. He was a very aesthetic. He had a very aesthetic physique actually. Let me search up his name. Joe Lin. So I think I'm not sure if this was natural because he also has a very sculpted physique. But this individual actually died at 30, and he was oh
Oh, I've
yeah,
seen that.
he was on TRT, and apparently TRT was what caused him to die at such a young age. 30 is very young, by the way. Nobody should be dying at 30.
Yeah.
And if you look at his physique here, very solid physique, probably like a very aesthetic physique actually. And then look at this,
An
died at 30.
aneurysm.
Yeah, he died of an aneurysm. And I'm sure steroids had a very big, like major role because that happened in his heart. Apparently, his heart stopped, and he did
Oh
have
yeah,
like a
no, I know now. Yeah,
yeah,
he did. His heart did stop.
so this dude, yeah.
So yeah,
But it's pretty terrifying what steroids can do to you.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
even Noel Dizel actually said rest in peace. So yeah, it's just it was a pretty sad death. Probably one of the most aesthetic physiques though for sure.
yeah. Even if you do take steroids, you
Mhm.
should like understand, like be, like
Yeah,
what
you
the
should
guy said, just
actually
be educated.
and being educated, you should also like get it prescribed medically because
Yeah,
if you get
exactly.
if you end up doing steroids and it's your own body, it's your own choice. I think it's a good idea to consult with the medical professional because
And
I do know that a lot of the top Olympic dudes, I think they have some connections with medical professionals. So the reason because if you're having an Olympian physique, anybody can't handle that. You need some medical expertise in that.
yeah, you can tell too because you don't
Hmm
really see like the dangerous side effects like acne, right? Like for
Yeah,
example, that
for
guy over
sure.
there, right?
hmm Yeah, but look at this. Let's see. When I lost my gains because I went everything for, but then could not recover my own testosterone, I went back to TRT, referring to as TR replacement therapy.
That's another thing. It's
Yeah,
like the addiction, It's like
yeah. Look at
nicotine.
this.
You got to
Trust
be
me. Yeah,
careful.
yeah. Going back to what you said about the addiction, trust me. I try to stop, but be aware of it. It might have long-term effects for your life. It's a big commitment too. It's too big of a commitment actually. It
Yeah,
just
this
completely rearranges your body. One of the craziest things that can happen to you.
is.
Yeah, but
But
yeah,
that's just,
that's.
that's just supplements, as a whole,
Mhm.
supplements
Yeah,
is
so
more
that
important.
that concludes episode 3. This is probably a little not too interesting of episode, but if you're a bodybuilding fanatic, this is something you should be aware of. And yeah, thank you.